Welcome to the continuum of the Kokoro series to work on the health of the mind and the body and the soul. So last month, we talked to Holly Brooks about the importance of the mind. She was a licensed mental health counselor, and we talked about how to work with the mind and how to bring that back to health. So today I am bringing on Christy, and she is going to introduce herself. And she also is a licensed health mental counselor. And I like to say gone psychic, gone spiritual, gone tree communicator, angel connector, and 100 other wonderful things. So, Christy, could you please introduce yourself?
I love that tree communicator is part of my title now. That's so much fun. I'm Christy Forsyth. I am, as Melanie was saying, a licensed mental health counselor. I am a certified life coach, and I'm also a psychic. And I bring those things together to offer a service that I call soul therapy, that is essentially a therapeutic, intuitively led life coaching process.
So let's refresh everybody real quick, because you were and probably still are a licensed mental health counselor. Could you just give a description of what you see that as, and then how you take that and you tie it into what you do now, and how that actually puts a different layer and added benefit?
Absolutely. So for me, it is very foundational to everything that I do. So I have been doing some form of counseling or coaching for the past 23 years. And the mental health counseling was a big piece of that, because that training and then that work that I did with people really allowed me to help to support people on their journey and to support their well-being and how they navigated this life, right? A lot of the people that I worked with were people who were struggling with day-to-day things and just needing that extra support in terms of how do we look at this from a different perspective? How do we create change in your life in order to bring you from where you are to where you want to be?
I love it. And so what brought you to become like the tree communicator now, and the psychic and all of the spiritual stuff briefly?
Yeah, well, that's really where life got interesting for me, because as much as I absolutely love doing the mental health work that I was doing, I got to a place in my life where, as many people do, when our soul is calling for something different, I started to question the things that I was doing, and I started to want to do something, but I didn't know what it was, right? I knew my soul was calling for something, but I wasn't quite sure what it was. And in that process, I started to connect more intuitively. And this is where things got really interesting, because I started to see auras around people. I started to see angels with people. And so I was doing these mental health sessions, and it got kind of tricky. It got kind of complicated, because it would be kind of frowned upon in those sessions for me to say, hey, you have an angel here, and they have this message for you. And there was a whole journey of all of these gifts that were unfolding. And so I, at that time, kind of decided to lean into that, and did some training with you, and did some training with some other people to help me to learn how to control it, because it actually felt a little bit like a runaway train at the time. But I got all of that, and very quickly was realizing that I was still being called to help people and to support them on their journey from getting them from where they are to where they want to be. But now it was time for me to help them in a different way. It was time for me to be able to utilize the gifts that were coming to the surface for me, that were very clearly, blatantly in my face, like, this is what we have to do now. And so that was where I started to do sessions, soul therapy sessions on the side, and just kind of built that up for a little while. And that developed into me ultimately stepping away from my mental health job altogether and doing soul therapy full time.
I love this. So I was just having a conversation the other day with a friend. In the past, there's been a lot of focus on like keeping health of the body. That's always something everybody talks about. I have a body that's healthy. I want to be fit. I want to look like the image of what would be the ideal body. And then there was a big call for mental health that became very important, so that you see a lot of social workers and a little bit of awareness to mental health, and these are things that were big deals in the past, but there's a third part, and that's something that I always felt called to, and I've been more called to in the past years, is the mind and body and soul connection. And it just occurred to me yesterday. So we have learned how to take care of the body, we've learned how to take care of the mind, but we are losing the soul. And when, in astrology wise, when Saturn is moving into the Pisces sign of the zodiac for the next 3 years, that's going to be working on the soul. And we have lost touch with our soul. We have actually almost removed it. And I have found that people like medical doctors are trying to treat people's bodies, but not able to get anywhere. There's more of an increase of cancer within the body. Mental health being treated one way is not working anymore. So what's missing? Oh, the soul. So I feel like for the next, I don't know how many years, soul therapy is what people are going to need. We can't just keep running fuel without a soul. And this is going to be the next world's dilemma.
Absolutely. It's the missing piece, right? I was supporting people in their mental health. I was supporting people even just in how do we take really good care of your body? Because as you know, it all works together. And when they're taking good care of their body, their mental health as well. But when I started to incorporate more of the spiritual component, and I started to really focus on that with people, I found that that's what people need, is that connection to God, to source, to the divine, and to understand how truly magical this world is. Because when you understand how magical the world is and how truly divinely supported we are, it's the most empowering thing that exists in this world. And when you're doing things to feed your spirit, it helps you to feel that entire balance of all of those three things. And I also have really noticed the way that when we learn how to address things spiritually and energetically, which, are a big part of the work that I do, that it helps with all of the other components too. So it just all works together. It's amazing. Our planet is ascending. And people are wanting more. People are recognizing there is an awakening that's happening on the collective level. And people are having that experience like I had back when I was figuring out what I was going to do here. And it's this, there's something that I'm needing. There's something that I'm needing. And it's spiritual. It's that need to connect with source.
Yeah. And when you said that divine connection, that source connection, for whatever it is for people, right? It doesn't have to be that one decided pathway, but when it's empty and we become the I, right? It's about me, what I want, that we're forgetting the soul. What does the soul need? Our connection to each other, our connection to the earth. And I do feel like people are starting to feel that missing link. I almost equate it to people when they say you're 45 or 50 and then they go through, that midlife crisis. There's a good chance that the new midlife crisis is, why am I here? Right? And you're here because you have a soul's path. You have a soul's journey. And when you get that connection, there is joy. It fills your heart. We're not meant to go this world alone because we aren't born with all the tools to do it. But we are, when we're connected to our creator, we have all the tools that we need because he's there to provide, or the creator's there to provide, or whoever your creator is. And that, I love that about you. You have such a grasp, such a love, such an understanding. And I know I referenced that tree thing, but there is, I don't know if it was on TikTok or what, but if somehow you could get that to me, I will put that link at the end of this. There's a video where Christy is like talking to a leaf and it just keeps coming closer and hugging her face. And I still think about that. That should, surprised that's not #1 right now on TikTok. Was it TikTok you did it on?
TikTok and Instagram. Yep.
So good. So you know exactly which one I'm talking about.
I actually did. I have two of them because people were like, we need to see you do this on a regular basis.
Right, right. So, but to me, that's truthful. Like the tree felt you. You could see it almost shocked you. You're like, oh, like what? It hugged my face. But back to the soul connection. For people that are watching this or listening to this, what do you suggest? Like, what are some of the, I don't want to say generic, but works good for everybody, right? Kind of suggestions for people to start finding that home with their soul again.
I think that it starts with a choice. It starts with an invitation to God, to the universe, whatever you want to call that, to number one, start to show us the way. And that can be, people overcomplicate all of this stuff, right? That can simply be you sitting there saying out loud or in your head, please show me the way. I invite you to show me the way. And through that process, we choose to open ourselves up and we choose to allow ourselves to be led. And through allowing ourselves to be led, it is helping to support us on that divine journey that you were talking about, on the path that we had intended for ourselves to experience here on this earth. But so oftentimes we forget to ask, we forget to open up to that. And I think that we try so often as human beings to do so many things by ourselves. And I always like to say, give God some of your to-do list, or let God help you with some of these things so that you don't have to do it all on your own. In fact, let God lead that process, because when we allow that process to be led, that's always going to lead us in the direction of our best life path. We can make all kinds of choices, but that's going to lead us on the path of our best life path.
So I have experienced that myself. Often people will say, well, how did you do this? Or why did you decide that? And I always have to jump. Like I have to jump, or I feel like the universe tells me I have to do this. And sometimes it's really not, it's just not what I want to do. I find myself often being like, well, I just think I'm supposed to do this. It's not because I want to do it necessarily. And I'm grateful to do it, but I feel that I'm called to do this, or I have to take that leap of faith, because, and it's not always about me, really. I've realized that a lot of my leaps of faith now, before I would say that I think the universe said, okay, you jump, and it's for you, right? Now I feel like the universe says, okay, so you've learned to jump, so we need you to jump for this, we need you to jump for that. And I already have that understanding that there's gonna be an equilibrium. It is a give and a take, and I want to jump, but it doesn't make it always easier necessarily because I have that. But I know I'm not alone. I'm not alone. I'm not going this alone. And I'm never gonna fall. I might not land where I think I'm gonna land, right? But I'm never gonna, it feels good to know that I'm not gonna fall. And that, to me, that's, I think that's through the experience of having that soul connection. And it really is about taking on a partner, right? In a way, taking on a piece back, a part of who you are, and bringing that back into the collective body that you might not have had there is going to feel weird and untrusting and unfamiliar. It might be easier to be by yourself, because almost like survivor mode, right? But little do we know, when we bring this in, there's no need to be in fear.
Absolutely. And what you're talking about, that's so important what you're saying, because it is, I feel like when we open ourselves up and we invite that in, that's the next step, is that trust, is that faith. And what I find is that God and the angels really love to lead us out of our comfort zone. And so for a lot of people, they will shut down right there because that feels really uncomfortable. But what I found is the more that you can lean into that, and the more that you can trust that, and at first, a lot of that will feel like blind faith. And you won't necessarily have the evidence that if I take this step that I intuitively feel called to take, that I'm going to be okay. But it's a relationship, right? And so the more that you lean into that, and the more that you develop that trust, the more that you're going to see how divinely supported you are. But there has to be that opening. There has to be that willingness to jump and to do the things that we're intuitively being prompted to do. And it's like you're saying, it can be incredibly uncomfortable. I can remember when I got that prompt, you need to start making videos. By nature, I am painfully shy. And all of this stuff has been really uncomfortable to expand in this way. But I really went back to that thought of, if this is how God wants to shine through me, then I'm going to let him shine through me. And I might fumble my way through it, or I might feel uncomfortable through it. But every single time that I follow those prompts, it leads me exactly where I'm supposed to be. And it's really incredible and really exciting, I think, to watch the way that it unfolds. It makes life so much more exciting.
Right. It is an adventure. It's an adventure.
It is.
So another theme that's come up for me, and I always feel like it's same as you do at times, I'm sure if we get these themes, then these themes maybe are meant for us to share them, right? The understanding, it has come into my forefront probably since September of last year, that fear is the builder of disease, right? And I always like to say dis-ease instead of disease. I like to separate that out because it's the not ease on the body. We want to be in ease. We want to be in health. Our body innately wants to be whole and complete. But when we look at fear, right? If we're fearful of anything, then that collective energy comes at us. And the opposite is fear is love. So if we stay in a love-based space, then dis-ease, unhealth, and imbalance is assisted to go away. And I'm not saying all answers are through love, although they probably are. But what is your expression, or how you might try to teach people to find love and joy in everything and every day to help their soul? So how do you feel like the connection of love, and how do you intertwine that within the soul when you talk to your clients?
I think that obviously love is so important. And I love what you're saying, because that's so important that we're working to move ourselves away from fear, because as we do that, that allows us to lean more into love, and it allows us to see how truly supported we are. Fear is integrated into everything. And like you're talking about, I feel like as a society, we've really moved more into that energy where it's like just being pumped out to us every single day. That is the message. That is the propaganda, right? And so we have to work pretty hard to lean into this energy of love. But like I approach everything else, it starts with asking God to help you. So my favorite prayer for that is very, very simple. Please heal my fear-based thoughts.
Yeah. I love it.
It's powerful. And as we lean into it, and every single time that we take a look at something and we say, you know what, I'm operating from an energy of fear with this, and I'm going to choose to lean into the energy of love. And I'm going to choose to try to detach from this fear and let myself move into this flow. It moves us that much more quickly in the direction of love, but also that much more quickly in the direction of all of the things that we're wanting to manifest in our life.
So the other day, I kind of took an analyzation of choices that I make or thoughts that I had. And I was like, did I think that with fear, or did I think that with love? And I realized a couple things that I actually projected people's actions or intentions. I took right to the fear base. It was convenient to say, well, they did that because. And then I recognized that, why did I feel that? Well, because it was something with fear. So a lot of things in a work in progress, I am, right? But a lot of things in reflection, I can look back that I did in a day, they were fear-based actions, right? So if it's hard, sometimes there's a particular thing, of course, I'm not going to disclose it, but I knew what the right choice was. It was really hard to make it. I can say, I don't think that I excelled in it that day, but I did better the next day. So if you look, am I going to make a decision? If you come from the place of love, you'll see the right choice. We'll know the right choice. It's, are we choosing to make that choice?
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm a big believer that fear loves to keep us in our comfort zone, right? Although I don't really particularly like that language, because if you really look at your comfort zone, you're really not that comfortable. but it's maybe our familiar zone is what we should call it. And so it will keep us there, and it will really challenge these intuitive thoughts that are coming through saying, hey, this is a better way. This is a lighter way. This is something that would be more in the energy of love. And if we don't allow ourselves to flow with that, we stay put in this. And as we start to take steps in the direction of the energy of love or faith, that fear will come up, because it's a little bit like, hey, where are you going? Come back here. Right? I had a hold over you for a really long time. Get back here. And so that fear will come up. I always say when people are really having a big issue around fear, that is that fear recognizing that they are on the brink of a major breakthrough. And it's trying to prevent them from moving beyond that.
Right. And it takes a while to fix that brain chemistry, right? To go into that new direction, because our brain wants, like I driving to work, I take the same route. I can do that unconsciously. My body knows what to do. Right. But if I were to change it, I'd have to be in that system, right? That awareness. And then there is, I will try to find it and then throw it up as an image, but there's that one bubble. It's like a circle, and it's like what we think is going to happen, what might happen, and what really happens. And so when we think in fear, it's just like the top of a pin is what is actually going to happen based on all this around fear. So we can stop worrying about it, because likelihood, what we think is the worst thing is going to happen, it never does. It never does. So,
absolutely. Yeah. In fact, the more that we lean into faith and love, and the longer that we can stay in that energy, the more we start to see how magical it is and how powerful that is, and how the very things that we've been wanting for so long start to come into our experience. I absolutely love the analogy in the book of Love and Creation, where he talks about the river, and he talks about the river leading us to basically the big body of water that is representing all of those high vibrational things that we want to manifest. And he talks about the riverbank. And the riverbank being anytime we try to control things, anytime we step into the energy of fear, anytime that we try to, that we're keeping ourselves stuck, or that we're choosing more negative energy. And so it's really powerful to kind of just operate for a couple of weeks in that mindset of, am I in the river or am I in the riverbank? And kind of like you were saying a few minutes ago, I did that and found myself, even though I teach this stuff, on the riverbank a lot. And the longer we can stay in the river, the faster we can get to all the good stuff.
Right. That's true. I mean, we can be imperfect human beings ourselves, even though we teach this. And I recognize that I'm a process, but the awareness that I have, right? Like there's awareness. So now that people might be interested, they're going to set that intention, be like, I don't want to be alone, and I would love to connect with my soul. What are some things people can do to find you? What are the things that you offer that they can come to you? So what are all your fun things you do?
Yeah. So I offer the soul therapy session. So that is a big part of what I do. I'm kind of in a place where that has been growing and developing so much that I'm actually right on the brink of a wait list right now. But what I did is I developed my membership kind of in response to that, because what I found is I just can't keep up with this, right? The world is waking up and everybody is wanting to connect with their spirit. So I wanted to be able to provide something where people could connect with this at a low cost and be able to do some of this work on their own. But we also have like group meetings and things like that in there. So that's my Clarity by Christy membership. I have things like monthly energy sessions and full moon energy sessions. You use them like meditations, and it's all about bringing your energy field into balance to align with the collective energy, the energy that's impacting all of us throughout the month of, or throughout whatever month we're in. So, and I have monthly readings and classes. And right now we're also focusing on A Course in Miracles.
So can you tell us more about the Course in Miracles?
Yeah. So we're doing 365 days of A Course in Miracles. A Course in Miracles is a powerful text for anybody who has read it. It is essentially channeled by Jesus. And I'm really connected to the story. This woman, Helen Schuckman, was a psychotherapist, just like me, and started to channel this voice that was telling her to write these things down. And as any psychotherapist knows, when you start to hear voices and when you start to see things, the first question, like I had when I started to experience things, is, am I going crazy? But she, after consulting with another person who ended up partnering with her on doing this, she eventually just decided, I'm going to just write it down. And what came through is the most powerful book ever. And it's so incredible because it's for the spirit, but it's also very focused around mental health as well, because it's all about, how do I change my thoughts? How do I lean into this energy of love? How do I release fear? And it starts off, it can be actually incredibly triggering for people, especially at the beginning, because it very much starts off in this idea of, we don't know anything. And it's like unhooking all of these beliefs, all of these things that we've believed about the world, and supporting us in moving into this understanding of how powerful we are, how supported we are, and how we can create heaven on earth, essentially. So we're going through that process of taking every single day a little time to read a little portion of A Course in Miracles and to do the daily lessons.
So now this was already started but for anybody who picks it up today, they can do this and they can still walk through this process, even if they didn't start on the same page you started on, correct?
Yes, exactly. The whole process is outlined for you, because I understand that not everybody is going to be navigating this at the same pace. And I want for people to jump in wherever they are and to start their journey with A Course in Miracles, because it was just something that was one of my intuitive prompts. This is something that you need to share with people this year.
I love this. So a couple other things, is that about what you do? Is there an easy way to find you? Are you always uploading extra information on Instagram?
Yeah. So I also have a YouTube channel. So that's important too, just because so many people who are going to tune into this are energy sensitive, right? So my YouTube channel focuses on mostly what's going on with the energy right now and how is it impacting you? How can you make the most of the energy? So I basically channel messages from the angels and talk about what's going on with the energy this week and how we can make the most of it. So that I have my YouTube channel too, and Instagram. They're all under @Christy_Clarity.
Excellent. So really joining that membership, even if they can't get you, or maybe they don't even have the finances for you to directly work with them, it looks like if they join that membership, they're going to be supported. They're going to be supported. You're going to be there. They're going to have that connection. They're going to have probably a good amount of information that you might even share available to them.
Absolutely. It's full of tools, and I'm always adding things to it as well. So I find myself, it's nice when people are in the membership, because even the clients that I work with, something will come up in between sessions and I'm like, go use this tool from, this section of the membership, because it just has become this ever growing resource that people can connect with.
And that's what it is a resource. Because I am part of the membership, and I know that you have an app that it's easy to access. And then everything is just outlined. So I can scroll and you can also see what you've watched.
Mm-hmm.
So I know where I've left off. It's almost like you could be the course in soul therapy right there, by watching, learning, and then taking it at your own pace, but then having the tools that might have been covered a month or two ago available to you today. So when people sign up, they get it all, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I really wanted to create it in the energy of, what is it that I do with my one-on-one clients, and how do I replicate that into a membership so that people can do that process, so that I can continue to help more people.
Wonderful, Christy. First of all, I'm so grateful you came and you're talking with everybody. I want to thank you 100 times over. And I really do wish that everybody that listens to this will start to reconnect to their soul, and find that purpose so that we can all be guided to love, to light, and a whole collective. So thank you so, so much for coming on today and sharing all the abundance of joy and love that you have experienced.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. Some people making videos asking trees to touch them in an effort to demonstrate their consciousness. Now, I understand completely that trees are conscious. I work with their energy all the time. They help us with so many healing things. There are trees that help us with anger. There are trees that help us with sadness. There are trees that help us to integrate energetic downloads. But today, we're going to ask this tree if it will demonstrate its consciousness by touching me. So let's move closer and check it out. We are now going to invite this tree to touch me in some way and move closer to me. Oh, I see it already starting to move toward me. I feel like it is giving me a hug. Now we have a little bit of wind, but it started to move toward me before that. Love it. Thank you. So what do you guys think? Wind, consciousness, or maybe a little bit of both? By request, people really liked my video where I asked the tree to touch me, so we're gonna try it again. Okay, we moved a little bit closer to make this very, very easy. So we are now going to ask this tree if it is a conscious being, if it is aware of me asking, if it could just move closer to me and maybe touch me in some way. Let's see what happens. Oh my God. Wow. I mean, it is a little windy. I don't know, guys, but this works every single time. Love it. Let's try it with another branch. Can you move closer to me? Can you touch me? I totally just, wow, okay. There it is.